Hey guys, Eric at SoCal Cigars here. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. I'm not having an amazing day. That's why we're doing this video. This video is going to be incorporating a massive overhaul to how I am running my winter 400 count refrigerated humidor unit. And I'm hoping that anyone that has a refrigerated unit for their cigars or is planning on getting one, please watch this video because I've run into some issues, some dead ends, and hopefully a potential solution to having a refrigerated unit for your cigars. I'm going to give you some very important information here because I was about to make some more mistakes, and luckily I found out information that I was able to correct those mistakes before I even made them. So that's partly why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is partly why I make the videos I make. I want to give you guys information so you guys can make the best decisions based on at least my experience. So a little background. The reason I got a humidor that was refrigerated in the first place is living in Southern California. Temperatures would get hot in the summer, and there was times where my humidors were sitting at like 85 degrees. And you know that's not good for your cigars for a lot of reasons, all the way up to even helping cigar beetles hatch. And so we don't need a humidor full of holy cigars. I don't want my cigars to be that religious. So the solution, after a lot of looking into it, was to basically have to get a refrigerated unit to control the temperature, because humidity is easy, temperature is not easy. The alternative is to basically run your AC in your house all summer long, and that's ridiculous to incur $400 or $500 electric bills to satisfy your cigar collection. So that's wasn't an option. The option seemed to be a refrigerated unit. And so I did that. I looked into the humidification method, deep dove into that one for a long time to make sure I was getting a good option there, and I went with the Heartfelt industry beads. And so I would argue for a year and a half straight, perfect. Cigars are sitting at 68% humidity, temperatures around 66 to 69. Couldn't ask for more. Ideal. So I had gotten a tip one time that if you're not having to control temperature for, let's say, like the winter, you might as well unplug your unit, because you're going to save electricity, you're going to save on running the unit, which is going to maybe extend the life of the refrigerator. Makes sense. So I did that. I unplugged it for probably 2 months because the temperature was already sitting at the 70s. It was great, and there was really no reason to run the unit. And so when I plugged the unit back in, I noticed it had a really hard time getting back to where it should be. But I did. It finally got back to where it should be. Then recently, I don't know what happened, but it took a total dump. My humidity's been sitting at about 56% humidity. That's dangerously low. So I kind of looked at everything. I made sure my beads had plenty of water, distilled water. I was spritzing the crap out of them to where I was almost just dumping water on them in these containers just to make sure that they had just plenty of humidity to give out. And it seemed to stabilize a little bit. And then it was dropping again. And so I ended up actually taking out 2 of the bead trays and literally just putting in dishes filled with distilled water. I'm like, I'm just going to put straight water in this thing. Still sitting in the high 50s. I then, even because I was so concerned about starting to get some of my cigars to actually dry out and split, I did an old trick of where you take a paper towel, you moisten it, you put it into a Ziploc bag and punch some holes in it. I had one of those laying in every drawer just to make sure I wasn't going to ruin any of my cigars. Still sitting at high 50% humidity, or probably about 56 to 58 maybe, but nowhere near the 65 minimum I would want to have it at. So I don't know what else to do. I mean, I was basically almost just putting straight distilled water in there, and it was still low. So I'm narrowing it down to where I'm thinking it has to be the refrigeration aspect, even though it shouldn't be, because it's a thermoelectric setup. Okay, it's not supposed to pull humidity out of the air. That's why they use thermoelectric refrigerators for cigars, not Freon-based refrigerant like you use to cool your food, because that does draw moisture out purposely. We don't want to pull that out, thus thermoelectric heat or cooling. I'm like, it has to be something to do with that. Plus, there's a fan that runs all the time when the unit's plugged in. So I unplugged the unit, and sure enough, I swear within 2 hours, it was at 68% humidity. So clearly, it's something to do with the refrigerated unit running and robbing the air of the humidity. I can't have that. So the dilemma that you're now placed in is you have to control the temperature, but you also have to keep the humidity up, because either one of those things is going to be bad. Too hot's too bad, too dry is too bad. So you've got to get that to work again. So I wish I had a better answer for you of what changed, because as far as I can see, nothing changed other than I unplugged it and plugged it back in. But I've done that before and it's never been an issue. Something changed and I don't know what it is, but I need to resolve it. So what I did was I reached out to Heartfelt Industries and asked them, hey, do these beads expire? Maybe they're just old. They're a year and a half old. And I know some of the other humidification methods, they do age out and you need to replace them. I'm like, well, maybe these beads age out and I need to swap them for a new set of beads. No big deal. No one responded. So I finally went to their site again and I was able to dig around and I found a setup page. And a couple sentences on that massive setup page actually said that these beads pretty much last forever and never degrade. So that's what they say. I'm like, okay, well then it's not an aging out issue, apparently. So at that rate, again, I'm not sure what to do. So I started looking into Cigar Oasis because I know they're huge. They've been around forever. A lot of the big cigar manufacturers use Cigar Oasis religiously. I'm like, well, there's obviously something to be said about that product. So I started doing research on those. There's basically 4 models. There's a Magnum one that's more for like a walk-in humidor, which you wouldn't need typically unless you build a closet into a humidor. The very small one, which is for desktops, which I don't need. So what's in play for Cigar Oasis, and this is really important to hear, is the Excel model, and the one above that is called the Plus. So what I'm going to warn you about is don't just follow the method of bigger must be better. The unit's size is the same, okay, between the Excel and the Plus. The difference is how it puts out humidity. So, and I'll put some pictures up. If you look at the base of the Excel model, there's 2 holes on either side of the unit that has the sponge in it and the antifungal chemical that you put the distilled water in. Those 2 units, those 2 holes marry up to that top piece, and they only release humidity when the fan's on. In other words, when it's not running, those things plug up somehow. The Plus model you'll see is just a big hole in the center. That passively releases humidity all the time. And it actually puts out humidity at 5 times the rate of the Excel. And I was thinking, well, hell yeah. I mean, that's a faster recovery time. If I open the door and I close it, the fridge gets back up faster. Here's the problem, and this is coming straight from the sales manager at Cigar Oasis. He said, flat out, if you are running a refrigerated cigar humidor, do not use the Plus. Get the Excel. He said, I don't care if it's up to 1,000 counts. It doesn't make a difference. Get the Excel if you're using a refrigerated unit, because the Plus will over humidify your unit because it passively and actively puts out humidity, where the Excel model only puts out humidity when it's needed. So that was very important. That's one of the, if you take nothing away from this video other than just that one point, take that away. In fact, I had made the mistake. I had actually ordered the Plus, had to cancel the order and reorder the Excel after getting that info from the sales manager. So if you're going to go Cigar Oasis for a humidor that's refrigerated, Cigar Oasis Excel is the model, period. Okay? So what I'm going to do to make this happen is I'm going to basically have to do a little rearranging of my humidor setup. After measuring everything out, I'm going to have to take a drawer out, which is fine. Because the unit's 3.5 inches tall and it's about 3.5 inches to the bottom drawer, and I don't want, I obviously need room for the fan to put the moisture out, so I don't want to have something right on that. So I'm going to give it more room by pulling a drawer out. But I think by pulling out the other humidity trays I have in there of the beads and now water, and be able to rearrange my cigars a little bit, I think it's going to work out perfect, where I can have the Excel Cigar Oasis on the bottom, along with some other just full boxes, and then the rest will be drawers all the way to the top. So I think this is going to work out great. I'm just hoping, and so here's my hope. My hope is that the Cigar Oasis is able to combat the cooling method of pulling moisture out of the air and have some kind of a balance there, so that again I can use my Cigar Oasis with my refrigerated unit and not and get that balance again of having my cigars and my humidity and the temperature and everything working together again, which again for some reason has just flown out the window. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll go upstairs. I'll show you what my state of my humidor is right now, because it's like a disaster with all this shit everywhere trying to get the humidity back up. We'll unbox and set up the Cigar Oasis, and then what I'll end up doing is letting that run for a while, and then I'll make a follow-up video on how that's working. So this will sort of be a part 1 and a part 2, which I normally don't want to do, but I don't want this to be that long, and I want to get this information out fast, because I've already had some subscribers that were asking me questions about the Heartfelt beads. And before I can completely endorse something 100%, which I've in the past have because it's worked, but now that I've run into a hiccup with those beads, at least I think, I would rather have people watch this, get all this information, and then make a decision based on that. So we'll do this video, and then we'll follow up with another one to see how the balance happened with this new Cigar Oasis XL. So let's head upstairs and get this process started. Okay, so we're upstairs. Here's the sorry state of my humidor. Actually, you can see with it unplugged right now, it's sitting at 72% humidity and 74 degrees. So it's actually not bad for being unplugged. But as you can see, what I've had to do, or what I've not maybe had to do, but I have done. So I've got that set of Heartfelt beads saturated. Then, like I said, I was literally putting in paper towel, plastic bag things. Okay. Here, in fact, I didn't have one there. And then here in this hole, I actually took this out. I had this literal just tray of water sitting right in there, which I've taken out because I figured with the thing unplugged, I don't want the humidity now too high. And that was like that. But then even down here, where I normally have this full of Heartfelt beads, it's literally just water. So that's what I've done to try to get this thing to stabilize, with no luck. So we'll close this, and then step 2, now let's take a look at the Cigar Oasis, and we'll unbox that and get that thing set up and in here, and we'll figure out how this is going to all work. Okay, here is the XL 3.0. And one of the things about the 3.0 is that they've actually added the built-in Wi-Fi. I guess the Wi-Fi used to be on the previous models an add-in that you could do, and now it's actually built right into the unit. So anyway, so here's the Cigar Oasis that I got, and let's just go through and see what we got in here. So of course you're gonna have some instructions, a little stop card. I think it basically saying don't contact whoever you got it from, contact Cigar Oasis if there's an issue. This is something about the Wi-Fi, don't need to see about that crap. So this is actually something cool. This is the USB plug, but I will show you. I was pretty excited about this. It came with this automatically. Okay, this used to be something you'd have to buy separate. What this is this actually plugs into the side of the unit here, so that instead of the cord coming straight out, it actually angles back so it doesn't get in the way of the side of your humidor. So I was looking everywhere to buy this separately, and then when I got this and it was already in the package, I was pretty happy. So I didn't need to actually go buy that separately now. So then this is the USB cord that'll actually plug into this unit, and then we'll plug into the back of this unit. This is the actual ribbon cable. So how this works is this is a very thin ribbon cable for the power, so that you can run this through the seal of your humidor and it won't affect the sealing of the unit. So that's been a big plus on this XL. It's kind of like, feels almost like a plasticky tin, kind of rigid but not too rigid, but I think it's so you could kind of mold it around. So that's nice that you can actually have that, not have to drill. The whole point was so you don't have to drill holes and try to figure out how you're going to run power. You can just run it right through the seal of your desktop or the rubber seal on these refrigerated units. Okay, and so then here is the actual unit itself. This is the bottom part. This is the part that you need to fill up with distilled water. It's got those 2 holes I was telling you about, and inside is a kind of like a floral foam, but it has an antifungal agent built into it as well. And then here's the top of the unit, which has got all of your screen and your buttons and the fan and the 2 matching up holes and your so this will end up just going on top of this. And so that's kind of it. That's kind of the Excel unit itself. And I'm going to look through the instructions real quick to make sure we're doing things right, and we will get this thing set up. Okay, so what I did is I went in and I had to actually refill this. Now this is supposed to come from Cigar Oasis. This would come pre-filled with the little plastic caps you'd have to pop off. But being so I got this off of a Amazon vendor, it looks like, I don't know, maybe this was a one of the tanks you can buy as a replacement tank, and I don't know, maybe that's why they sell it cheaper. But that was a little frustrating because I was anticipating to have to pop these little caps off and just plug it in and go, and I had to now go through the process of refilling it with distilled water, which is not that big a deal, but it only worries me that now, was this a returned unit? Was this repaired? Is it not really new? So just be cautious if you want to buy it to save a little money off Amazon. Know that you're not getting it from Cigar Oasis themselves. You may not be getting exactly what you thought. But the warranty is through Cigar Oasis, so if there is, and that's why they give you this little stop thing that says, if there's a problem, don't contact the seller, go directly to Cigar Oasis. So in the end, it's not that big a deal. So let's get this going here. So what you end up doing, and what I was told, is that you want to put this on with this on one end and this logo being on this end. So in other words, it wouldn't go like this where the logos are in the same. The logos need to be opposite. Okay, so all you do is you set it down and then you push that forward kind of until you hear a good click. Okay, so then what I've already done is I've already plugged all this in. So this ribbon cable is plugged into the USB that goes into the outlet. Then this ribbon cable on the other, and this is what I was telling you, that you get this little adapter, which I thought was so awesome. If you had your unit without this adapter, you would plug it in the side and it would literally be sticking out like that. I mean, that would be a pain in the butt in your unit, in your humidor. So the cool thing is that this actually comes like this, so it keeps the cord nice and sleek along the side. So all we need to do now is plug it in and then wait for the screen to pop on. Okay, it's plugged in, and let's just see what happens here. I think it takes just a couple seconds. There we go. So it'll go through its little, I don't know, menu, and then it should display the normal screen that'll be on all the time. And there you go. So you can see in the upper corner it says 70%, which is how it comes preset. It's showing the temperature is 83.5, and the humidity right now is 59.3. And I can just heard, I think I just heard the fan come on. So the unit's already doing its thing. If I can feel it coming out. And like I was telling you before, I saw in the lid, in this top piece, like I was telling you, there's like little pieces of plastic thin flaps that when this fan stops turning, those flaps go back down and they block the moisture from coming out of this water cartridge. So that's why the Excel is the better model than the Plus, as far as not giving out any residual unwanted humidity that would end up being too much for your humidor. So anyway, I'm gonna go work on the humidor right now so that we can get this sucker in there. Okay, that took some time, but here we are. So as you can see, I've got one shelf missing, and I've got the Cigar Oasis down there with all my boxes, so that actually worked out fine. Plenty of room. You can see how the ribbon just runs right outside and to the bottom. And then these, they're packed, but I was able to take out all the different humidification jars and stuff I had. Took out one of the drawers, and so that's what I'm left with. So I've got it right now. We can see it's at 80 degrees and 67% humidity. I've got the Cigar Oasis is plugged in and in place, and I do have the refrigerator on, and it's as high as it can go, which is 66 degrees. So anyway, we'll see how this works, because the goal is to have these both going at the same time. If I run into the same issue, then this was pointless. But my hope is that with the Cigar Oasis running and the refrigerator itself running, that they can work together and make the environment in my humidor a happy one, because right now it's an unhappy one. So anyway, I'll make another video in probably a week, and we'll see how this works out. And stay tuned, and hopefully this is going to be a huge success. I will talk to you later on.